Hi, I'm Maria. I'm from Chile. I'm currently a student pilot, and I'm here with my friend Bob from Elisafe in one of their facilities.
Probably one of the questions I get asked the most, and when I was doing a lot of work for Robinson, people were always asking about the pre-flight. You know, what specifically should I be looking for, and is there better ways, or can you show me how to do one? When you're first learning to fly is to really learn all about the aircraft, everything you can about it. You always want to use the rotorcraft flight manual, right? And then you'll hear other people say, well, geez, Robinson does it differently. Only Robinson people call it a POH. No, we call it an RFM too, but the POH includes additional material, and that's why Robinson uses the term Pilot Operating Handbook. The very first thing that you want to do is, if we take a look inside the ship, one thing you should know with whatever aircraft you're flying is when you turn on the master switch, what type of warning light should be on. And you want to hold it for a little bit, because you see the low fuel light takes a little bit to come on. Yeah. And that's because the sensor in the fuel tank, if the fuel is sloshing around, they don't want it to keep coming on. It will come on if you get to that low fuel. There's some basics that we always want to check. We always want to make sure that these pins are installed to protect the door from coming off in flight. And it's required to have both of them. I ask pilots, how many of you have lifted the ship up to a hover without the door secured and the door is open? Almost everyone raises their hand. And so it's really getting back to basics and making sure that these doors are locked and secured. The next thing that you always want to check, I think you know?
The fuel, that it's closed.
That is closed and secured. Yeah. And you should always put your hand on it. Again, another pro tip. It's these little things that make a huge difference. Then you want to go ahead and open up these panels to gain access to inside. The most important thing is, when you're a new pilot, is when you first look at it, it's kind of confusing, right? You look in here and you're like, what is all this stuff? One of the best things you can do is the ground portion, the instructional part, education and knowledge, and spending the time really to learn what all these components are and what you're looking for. I could tell you the basics of when we're doing a pre-flight. We're really looking for anything that doesn't look right. We see the wire harnesses are all secured, none of them are loose. We don't see any parts that are rubbing against each other. We want to look at our hydraulic reservoir, make sure that we have enough hydraulic fluid. We're looking down here at our main rotor gearbox fluid, that it has the right amount of fluid. But you also see the white frame. The white frame, it's white, it helps you detect if there's any type of cracking or any damage or leaking fluid. You see here on the jam nut on the push-pull tube that we have it, and this is for our tail rotor pitch, and we would want to move it just to make sure that we have freedom of movement. Go ahead and try moving it. And so if it was stiff or making crazy sounds, again, we would want to stop, get a mechanic, find out why. Good to great is not having hundreds and thousands of flight hours or years and years of experience. It's really the little things. When you first do the flight, the very first flight of the day, that's when you really want to spend time with your aircraft, check all these things thoroughly, and then if we went somewhere to have lunch and we landed, now when we go back out to the helicopter, we're not going to spend the same amount of time. We're just going to do what's called a walk around. We're just going to do a walk around, and we're just going to open it up, and we're going to verify nothing's leaking. We already took a very detailed look at the aircraft. Okay. Right. Now we're just inspecting the right side of the engine, right? And so we always want to make sure that this hose is secure. So you see the black hose here, yes, that it's secure and that it's not loose, because if that did come loose and it's sucked up against this wall, it would cut off the air to the engine and it would stop the engine. Other thing you always want to do is you don't want to pull on these, but you just want to make sure they're secure. So you want to make sure that you don't see any cracking or any, things that could show that there's some issue with it, because it's new. It hasn't happened, but it wouldn't matter what helicopter, anytime something new is done, you want to take a good look. Work our way around, back to the tail section, and we want to push and make sure that it has freedom of movement, no binding. That was that push-pull tube that we were pulling. Open this, and now we're looking at the left side of the engine. And we see a bunch of wires, right? Yes. And so again, we're just making sure that they're all secure, none of them are loose. We can look at the attachment points for the engine, and you're just looking at the overall condition of it. Nothing looks strange, nothing looks different. We would open up this door, and you just again want to check the interior that there's no loose items and everything looks right. The one thing we didn't do, and we'll do that at another time, but we would do that as part of the normal pre-flight, but it's hard with the two ships together, as we would climb up and check the rotor system, right? You should go up there the very first flight, but now we landed again like we went somewhere for lunch and we're just doing a quick walk around. Very easy to walk around, look up at the rotor head, and just take your time and look at the blades, see if there's any damage, see if everything looks normal and all the hardware is attached. One of the types of accidents that I've seen that has been really, really bad. Normally pilots make mistakes, but sometimes mechanics make mistakes and they don't put the hardware back on correctly. And I've seen several fatal accidents where some hardware has come out. And it doesn't matter if you're the pilot or I'm the pilot, it's really bad. So you really want to look at the hardware there, because if we were on the other side and you climbed up to look at the rotor system and you checked all the hardware, this push-pull tube, it would be very hard for you to see that hardware. So this is one that I always pay really close attention to, this push-pull tube with that hardware in there. One of the easiest ways for me to get a good look at it is pull up that collective, raises up the swash plate. That's the same on some of the other helicopters I do it, but now we can see the scissor fork better, we can see the hardware better, we could get a much better look at the rotor mass.
So thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate it.
Yeah.